Students, my name is Ian Achojo Chibuzerio. Welcome to our online chemistry class for SS1. Now, our topic today is chemical formula. We're talking about chemical formula, the part two. The part one, we talk about chemical formula and we look specifically at binary compound and how to name and form binary compounds. Now, in this class, we'll be looking at examples of trinary compounds and also be looking at how to write the chemical formulas of trinary compound. Now let's go into the topic. Now, what is trinary compound? Now, a trinary compound is a compound that contains three elements only. Trinary compounds contain three elements, unlike binary compounds that contain two elements. So trinary compounds are made up of three elements. So trinary acids are examples of trinary compound. Now let's look at how the trinary compound is structured. The first element in trinary acid is usually hydrogen. The first element is usually hydrogen. Now, the third element is oxygen. So we have oxygen, which is the third element, and the middle element is any other element. It can be H, it can be N nitrogen, it can be sulfur, it can be any other element. So this is how the trinary acid is structured. So we have hydrogen first, we have oxygen as the third, we have any other element at the center. So if you look at it, this will give us hydrogen triazole nitrate 5. So this is an example of trinary acid. So down here you can see some examples of trinary acid here. You can see if you look at the middle of each element, they are different, but the first is usually hydrogen, while the last is usually oxygen for all trinary acids. So how do we write the chemical formula using the valencies? Like I said, the valency is the combining power of an element. For you to write the chemical formula of any compound, you must understand the valency and know the value of the valency of each of the elements that is combining. Now, the formula of compounds can be written using the valency of the cation, the metallic ion, and the anion. So this is your cation ion, this is your anion. So these are their valencies. So when we do the exchange of valencies, you have the chemical formula. So let's take some examples. Now, I would say this. There's a shortcut. Before you write the chemical formula of any compound, I would advise you as my student to know the radicals, the chemical formula of the radicals. It will assist you in writing the chemical formula. Please understand, if you can memorize these radicals, if you can memorize them, it makes the work very easy. So let's look at how we can use these to write chemical formula. Now let's take something like this. I want to write Fe2 plus, and I want to take NO3 minus. Okay, I know that this is ion 2, and I know that this is nitrate, and the radical here is 2, while the valency here is 2, sorry, while the valency here is minus 1. So I'll write 2 and I'll write 1. So I will now do what we call exchange of valency, and then I'll have Fe, okay, 1, you don't need to write 1, then you have NO3. Now it is 2. So that is the chemical formula of this compound. Now I can as well take Fe, okay, 3 plus, and then I can take let's use XO4 2 minus. So I'll have something like this, 3, and then I'll have 2. So you do your exchange of valency, then you have Fe2, and then you have NO3 in brackets this 3 that is here. Remember, sorry, that's a mistake. SO4 in brackets this 3 that is here. Okay, with this I have my ion 3 tetraoxosulfate 6. So that is how we write. So let's take another example. So let's say I have let's take Mg, okay, 2 plus, and then CO3 2 minus. Look at this. I have 2 and then I'll have 2. So we'll do an exchange of valency. So I'm going to get Mg what? 2, and then I'll have CO3 in brackets 2. But these 2 can cancel out each other, right? So they cancel out each other, and then I'll have MgCO3. So this is how I write my chemical formula using the valency. So the knowledge of this boosts your ability to write the chemical formula. So students, I would advise you to memorize these radicals and their formula. All right, what are the rules for naming trinary compound? How do we name trinary compound? Now, firstly, what you have to do is you count the number of oxygen, okay? You count the number of oxygen atoms present and represent the number by Latin prefix. Look at the Latin prefix. We have 1 mono, for 2 we have di, 3 is tri, 4 is tetra. So, for example, if you look at this, I have O3, so this is trioxo. Number 2, change the oxygen name to oxo. We don't call oxygen oxygen when naming a trinary compound or trinary acid. We call the oxygen oxo. That is why you will hear things like trioxo. You will hear something like tetraoxo. You will hear something like trioxo. So this tetra means 4 oxygen. This trioxo means 3 oxygen. And while this trioxo means 3 oxygen. So take note of that. So change the surface of the middle element to 8. So in this element, if I may ask you, what is the middle element here? You know it is nitrogen. This is nitrogen. So we don't call it nitrogen, we call it nitrate. We don't call this sulfur, we call it sulfate. We don't call this carbon, we call it carbonate. So I name them by removing their surface and adding ATE. Now, determine the oxidation number of the middle element. So the middle element, which you name by adding 8, you determine the oxidation number. I will teach you how to determine the oxidation number of the middle elements on a different video. So now let's look at an example. Let's look at this. When we come to this hydrogen. So how do we name this hydrogen? Using these rules that are here. Remember, these 3, it is tri, oxo, and then carbonate. So we have trioxo nitrates. We have trioxo nitrates. So we have trioxo nitrates. But when calling the name in full, you start with the first element. Hydrogen, trioxo nitrate. Hydrogen, you go to the last trioxo nitrate. So that is how you name them. All right, I'll be sending subsequent videos on how to name chemical compound. Now, down here, I want you to go home and write the chemical formula and name of the compound formed between the ions. So we have these 2 ions. So write the chemical formula and try to name them for this and for this. So thank you very much for participating in our class today. Do have a nice day. Bye.